What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is another running and training vlog. It's a weekly thing that I put out, and the primary reason for me doing this vlog every Monday is to check in about last week's running. I want to know about your week. I want to know about your successes. I want to know about your setbacks. But I do have another question coming up. So before you go ahead and comment down below, I want you to just sit tight for 1 second. I got another question coming up. In a few minutes, I'll be giving you the rundown of my week of training and everything I did. Before that, I came across a good article in Trail Running magazine, the online version, not the paper magazine. And the article was about fatigue resistance. And by the way, I'll link to that article down below in the show notes. And fatigue resistance is a funny thing, and it made me think after reading the article, because spoiler, there's no definitive way to build fatigue resistance. This is definitely more of an art than a science, but I want to know about you guys. You guys that have experience in running longer races. Even if you haven't run longer races, perhaps you're just getting started and you're struggling when that fatigue sets in to keep going, to push through that wall. I want to know how you do it. I want to know if you have any tips and tricks, whether it's training or whether it's in the actual event itself, that you think builds resistance to fatigue. And I'm going to quickly go over the article and run down the tips that they give to build resistance to fatigue. So while you're watching, go ahead and write in the comments. Let me know how your week was last week, your week of training, and how you build fatigue resistance in yourself. So if we had to define fatigue resistance, it's very difficult because it doesn't have a set definition, but basically it amounts to the amount of deterioration in performance over time. So when you get to the end of an event and you're not feeling as fresh as you were at the beginning, that is because of fatigue. And how resistant you are towards it is based on several factors. Now I'll be the first one to tell you, we don't know all the factors. I certainly do not know all the factors that leads to fatigue. But clearly there are a few out there that kind of stick out more than others. Training, pacing. You know, obviously, if you don't train, you're gonna get tired a lot quicker. If you go out too fast, wrong pacing, you're gonna get tired a lot quicker. So you're gonna be a lot less resistant to fatigue. Guys, the most important thing is that I don't want anyone feeling disappointed when they hear this fatigue resistance stuff, because we're all different. And that's the beauty of running. We're each only ultimately competing against ourselves. And that's a good thing, because genetics probably plays a role in fatigue resistance. Now, of course, we can all train to get better, but some of us definitely have a leg up in the genetic department. There's also running economy. Some of us are just more economical when we go out for a run. Now, of course, these are all things that we can train, we can try to get ourselves better at, but ultimately, some people are going to be more economical at running than others. With that said, the first tip to increasing running fatigue resistance is to fuel appropriately. And now that I've given you the first one, I got to tell you that I kind of rolled my eyes when I was going through this article, because there is nothing revolutionary. All these things that I'm going to tell you are things that you have probably heard before. You're probably already doing if you are actively training for an event. Okay, but by telling you again, I just want you to know that you're on the right track. You are building fatigue resistance. So fueling appropriately is tip number one. And why is that? Well, obviously our body needs the fuel it needs. That doesn't make sense. Our body needs the fuel it needs. Our body needs fuel to perform optimally. We know that. And listen, you may try and go out and you may try to log your runs in a depleted state, but you will never perform as well in a depleted state as you will if you are optimally fueled. Now, I'm not talking about having a big dinner right before you go out for a run. I'm talking about having enough liquid so your body's fully hydrated and enough fuel. And that can be anything. This is why we practice in training. Gels, blocks, natural stuff, bananas, dates, bars, maybe. I don't know, that seems like a bit messy when you're out on a run. But it doesn't matter, whatever you're used to, that's important. Just fuel appropriately. That will keep you from getting tired. If you're not adequately hydrated, that's just another barrier that's been put in front of you for you to jump over, and it's going to be a lot harder to jump over if you are hungry or thirsty. Tip number two, for fatigue resilience, according to this Trail Runner magazine article, is to include vert. Now, this article is actually talking about ultra events, which is incredibly important to build fatigue resilience for, because you're out there for so long. And they say include vert in the last 6 to 8 weeks before your event. And basically, guys, it comes down to building strength in your legs. The eccentric muscle contractions that result in muscular breakdown and then they're rebuilt stronger, makes you a better runner. The article also points to some nervous system impacts too. So it's not just that simple building bigger muscles to make you stronger. Your nervous system is being stimulated when you do these hill repeats, or when you're going uphill, when you're getting that vert. Tip number three is very similar to tip number two, and that is continuing consistent higher rep strength training to fatigue. And they do give an example of one of their own athletes who does single leg step-ups after their runs. And that's what we want. When you're coming back from a run, your legs are already tired. Now's the time to do some repetitive, high rep, but low weight strength work. Body weight lunges, body weight squats, step ups. What it's doing is just kind of kicking your legs into high gear. You've already broken them down on the run. Now you break them down just a little more. And doing something when we're tired teaches you to do something tired later on, which is the whole point of fatigue resistance. Tip number 4 is to include a tempo effort within your long run, a tempo effort or some kind of workout. So you're going out for your long run, you log a couple of miles, and then you pick up the pace to tempo pace. You've heard of this, right? It can be called a fast finish. That workout is teaching you how to run fast on tired legs, which is building fatigue resilience. Tip number 5 is to consider doubles that progress to a steady effort. So a lot of athletes, especially elite athletes, will include doubles in their day. Now, while that may not be ideal for you and I, if we have other life things that get in the way of running 2 times a day, the doubles can have a neuromuscular context that approximates longer efforts. So by doing a double, by running on tired legs, you're already getting some benefits. Now, if you add in a workout into one of those efforts, maybe hills, maybe some strides, maybe some longer intervals, you are going to be supercharging that neuromuscular benefit. Tip number 6 is probably the most obvious one of them all, and that is not to overtrain. Now, not overtraining is more difficult than it seems, especially when you get really into it and you just want to maximize your benefits. It's very easy to fall into that trap of thinking, oh, a little more, maybe a little better. Don't fall for it. Stick to the plan. Don't overtrain, and you will excel on race day. That also includes the taper as we're getting towards the race. You have to give your body time to recover. All right, guys, those are the only tips I'm going to talk about right now. I have included the link, as I said, down below. If you want to see the other tips that Trail Runner Mag included, go ahead and click on that and check it out. Guys, I actually had a pretty good week running this week. And for you long-time viewers of the channel, you know that that's usually what I say. Most of my weeks are pretty good running. Started off on Monday with 7.5 miles. Very easy. Just going out, enjoying the run, because Tuesday was a little different. I did have a workout plan for Tuesday. I ended up running 8 miles total with 3 1-mile intervals with 600 recoveries in between. Basically what that run amounted to was warming up for a couple miles, doing those 3-mile repeats, and then running a couple miles to cool down. There was a lot of thunder in the area on that morning run, but it was just far enough away where I felt safe going out. Of course, my wife wasn't happy when I came home. She told me that I shouldn't have gone out, and I probably shouldn't have, but you know what it's like. Sometimes you just want to take care of business. Wednesday was definitely my favorite run of the week, 10.4 miles, but I did go down to the Ringling Bridge, which is a bridge in downtown Sarasota. And I had a great time just back and forth over the bridge, getting some vert. Getting vert here is very difficult to come by, so when I have a chance to go down to the bridge and log a few miles, I'm always going to jump on it. Thursday was a bit of a dodgy morning. I woke up and there were thunderstorms all around, but the thunderstorms this time were too close even for me to go out. I mean, they were right over our house for hours. So first thing in the morning, I jumped on the Peloton and I decided to run after that because the storms were going to clear in a couple hours. By the time I got out for my run, the sun was shining, and many of you know I am not a fan of running in the sun. So I put on my sun shirt, I did get out, I took care of business, but it just wasn't easy. 11 miles, and I want to say I was running easy, but I really wasn't. It was definitely more of a moderate effort, even though my pace was a bit lower. And it was actually one of those runs that I was really happy to be done with it and be home and be able to just jump in the shower and shower it off. Friday was an excellent run because I had to make up for my workout that I missed on Thursday, the day before, because of the thunder. So I knocked out a total of 8.1 miles. But during those 8.1 miles, I knocked out 4 miles at a kind of a hard effort. The effort was harder than a marathon race pace. I'd probably say around half marathon effort. Of course, the pacing was all messed up just because of the heat. But judging by the effort, I'd say it was about half marathon effort that I did those 4 miles, took a mile recovery, then did 1 more mile, then just cooled down before I went home. Saturday was a nice and easy 7.7 miles. Lovely. Love those easy runs. Of course, I don't get the same feeling of satisfaction when I'm done, but there is something just about the enjoyment of running, to go out and running easy. I tell you, a lot more people would run if they ran easy. And then on Sunday, I wrapped up the week by running over to the mall and I ran the hills up and down the car park. 7.5 miles. But really, it's about 2.7 miles for me to run to the mall. I usually spend about 2 miles on the hills, just up and down the car park, and then about 2.7-ish to get home. Bringing my week's total to just under 60.3 miles, which is about 97 kilometers. Also logged a bit of time on the Peloton this week. Knocked out around 128 miles, which is about 206 kilometers. So yeah, another great week. Guys, I hope your week was great too. My name's Matt. I post new running videos at least twice a week. Be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.